Welcome back, everybody. This is Jimmy Kimmel. Good to see you. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, all that good stuff to you and yours. Look, I got to share something with you today that is genuinely bananas. I mean, this is one of those stories where you go, wait, this is what we're doing now. This is Washington in all its glory, folks. And you're here because you want the real deal, the stuff they don't want you paying attention to while they're busy doing. Well, you'll see. Now, before I dive into what legitimately made my jaw hit the floor this week, and trust me, I thought we'd hit rock bottom. Turns out there's a basement. I need to ask you something, just between us. If you haven't done it yet, go ahead and smash that subscribe button for Truth Point. One click, that's it. Because when you subscribe, you're basically saying, hey, I give a damn about what's actually true. I want to know what's really going down in this country. So do me a solid, hit subscribe right now. Okay. So let me walk you through this Trump ballroom situation. And this isn't just some real estate story, okay? This is about power, this is about corruption, and this is about one guy literally redesigning the people's house, your house, to make it more, HIM, while regular folks out there are trying to figure out how to pay for groceries. And somehow it just got even worse, a lot worse. So buckle up. Here's what you got to know. Back in July, Trump comes out and announces this gigantic project, a $250 million ballroom. Actually, scratch that. It's $300 million now. The price tag keeps climbing, which should tell you everything about how well this whole thing is being run. Trump swore up and down he'd pay for it himself. Private donors, no taxpayer dollars. Cross my heart, hope to die. That was the deal he sold us. But then, and this is where it gets good, something happened that shows you exactly who this guy is and what he cares about. The East Wing of the White House, the historic East Wing, built in 1902, this gorgeous piece of American history, gets demolished. Not fixed up, not renovated, demolished, gone, wiped off the map. Construction crews are smashing through windows. Bulldozers are ripping apart the walls, and photos of this destruction are all over the internet. Why? Because Trump wanted his ballroom, a ballroom, people, a place where rich folks can throw fancy parties and eat shrimp cocktail. And to build it, he had to tear down a historic chunk of the White House that belongs to all of us. He didn't check with Congress. He didn't follow any approval process. He just did it, demolished the thing. And get this, he did it while America was in the middle of a government shutdown. Let that sink in for a second. American soldiers weren't getting their paychecks. Federal employees were trying to figure out how to keep the lights on. The government was shut down because Congress couldn't agree on a budget. And Trump's over there at the White House going, you know what this moment calls for? Tearing down a building so I can throw better parties. The priorities here are absolutely out of their minds. Let me paint you a picture of what actually got destroyed here. So the East Wing wasn't just some random addition they slapped on there. This thing was designed by McKim, Mead, and White, one of the most legendary architectural firms in American history. We're talking about the people who gave us the Brooklyn Museum, Columbia University's campus, Penn Station in New York. These were serious artists, building stuff meant to stand for generations. And inside that East Wing, offices, meeting rooms, spaces that had seen more than 100 years of American history unfold. Presidents walked through those hallways. Major decisions that shaped this country happened in those rooms. And Trump takes one look at all that history and goes, yeah, but I need the space for my ballroom. So he knocked it down. And the demolition? It was a rush job. Preservationists didn't get time to document what was being lost. Architectural historians couldn't properly catalog everything before it disappeared. It just vanished, bulldozed into a pile of rubble, hauled off like yesterday's garbage. A genuine piece of American history, erased, so Trump could build something flashier. Now let me tell you about the architect drama, because this is where you really see how dysfunctional this whole thing is. Trump brings in this guy, James McCreary, to design the ballroom. McCreary's a classical architect, right? He gets proportion. He understands that buildings need balance, that you should respect what's already there. And McCreary had a serious problem with what Trump was trying to do. McCreary looks at Trump's plans and says, hold on, this isn't right. You can't make a ballroom bigger than the White House itself. That breaks every basic rule of architecture. An addition is supposed to be subordinate to the main building, not bigger and fancier than the actual building. That's just design 101. But Trump didn't want to hear it. Trump wanted bigger. He wanted more people. He kept pushing for more size, more grandeur, more everything. The ballroom was supposed to fit 650 people. Then it became 900. Then it became 999 people. Almost 1,000 people crammed into one room. That's the scale Trump was going for. And when McCrary said, "No, this violates basic architectural principles," Trump fired him, just like that. McCrary, who Trump personally appointed, who was literally doing his job by advising restraint and good design, got tossed aside. Trump couldn't handle someone saying no to him. So McCrary's out, and now we've got Shalom Barains, an architect who seems way more willing to play ball with Trump's massive ego project. That right there tells you everything about how Trump operates. When people push back, when people try to set reasonable limits, when people try to do things the correct way, he dumps them. That's his move every single time. Get rid of anyone who might tell you no. Think about what McCrary was actually trying to do here. He wasn't saying, "Don't build a ballroom." He was trying to design something that made architectural sense, that respected the existing White House, that would be proportional and appropriate. He was doing his job as a professional. But in Trump's universe, professional expertise means nothing if it gets in the way of what he wants. Your credentials don't matter. Your years of experience don't matter. The only thing that counts is whether you'll give Trump whatever he's asking for. And if you won't, see ya. This is the exact same pattern we've watched throughout Trump's entire career. Fire anyone who disagrees with you, swap them out for someone more agreeable. Stack your team with yes men who won't challenge you. And the result is always, always the same. Projects that spin completely out of control, budgets that explode, and outcomes that serve Trump's ego instead of anything resembling a legitimate purpose. So now let's talk about the corporate donors buying their way in, because this is where things get really, really shady. This is where the corruption just jumps right out at you. Remember, Trump promised this would be privately funded. He told us private donors would foot the bill. But hold on, who exactly are these private donors? That's the story nobody's talking about. We're talking Amazon, Apple, Meta, Comcast, Booz Allen Hamilton, Caterpillar, Coinbase, Hard Rock International. These aren't just generous benefactors throwing money at a construction project because they admire Trump's decorating skills. No, no, no. These are massive corporations with serious federal government business. These are companies that need regulatory approvals. These are companies that desperately want the government to go easy on them. These are companies chasing billion-dollar government contracts. And suddenly they're all bankrolling a ballroom, not because they're architecture enthusiasts, not because they think Trump's got impeccable design sense, but because they're purchasing something: access. They want their names on the guest list. They want seats at those exclusive galas. They want private moments next to Trump and his top officials where they can quietly pitch their corporate agendas while nobody's recording, nobody's reporting, nobody's paying attention. This is what corruption looks like in real time. This is pay-to-play politics turned into actual construction. This is the presidency functioning as a for-profit business scheme. These corporations aren't donating millions because they care about ballroom aesthetics. They're investing in influence. They want laws written in their favor. They want their mega mergers waved through. They want their regulatory headaches to magically vanish. And this ballroom, it's the entrance fee. Let me spell out what these companies are really after from Uncle Sam. Amazon's got massive antitrust heat coming their way. They're under fire for crushing competition, exploiting warehouse workers, dodging taxes left and right. Drop $50 million on Trump's party palace, and suddenly you've got a front row seat when antitrust policy gets discussed. Apple desperately needs trade deals that work for them, especially anything touching China. Nearly everything they sell gets built overseas. They need favorable tariff treatment. They need Washington smoothing things over with Beijing. Cut a fat check and boom, you're suddenly in the room when those deals get negotiated. Meta, the artist formerly known as Facebook, is getting attacked from every direction. Privacy legislation, antitrust lawsuits, content moderation nightmares. They're hunting for powerful friends in D.C. And apparently the ballroom is the friendship store. Comcast wants the green light on mergers, friendly decisions from the FCC, shields against new rivals trying to eat their lunch. They operate in one of the most regulated industries in America. Getting close to power is worth millions and millions to them. And it's the same story down the line with every single donor. Each company has specific business priorities that live or die based on federal decisions. So they're all writing massive checks to secure invitations to Trump's ballroom, to show up at the lavish dinners, to have those hushed conversations with the decision makers while the champagne flows and backroom deals get cut. And here's the absolute wildest part. Apparently, Trump floated the idea of literally engraving the donors' names inside the ballroom, like it's a museum donor wall or something. Picture it: special thanks to Amazon, $50 million. Gratitude to Apple, $40 million. The ballroom transforms into a shrine to corporate power, a permanent testament to who paid for influence. This isn't even sneaky corruption anymore. This is corruption with a spotlight on it. This is Trump literally etching corporate logos onto the walls of a government building in exchange for cash. It's pay to play, carved into stone. But here's what I want to know. What exactly are regular Americans getting out of this deal? What are everyday people supposed to take away from watching their White House get remodeled into a luxury playground for billionaires and Fortune 500 companies? Because meanwhile, grocery bills are crushing families. The price of meat is absolutely insane. Eggs cost a fortune. People are skipping meals to make ends meet. Utility bills are going through the roof. Healthcare costs are burying households under debt. And get this, Trump's over there asking Congress to cut him a check to reimburse him for investigations. Not for the ballroom, which he swears is privately funded, but for his legal troubles. He wants America to hand him hundreds of millions of dollars while ordinary people are trying to figure out how to afford a gallon of milk. That's the America we're living in right now, folks. Two completely different realities. On one side, you've got excess and marble everywhere. This ballroom shooting up from the demolished East Wing, corporations throwing money around, intimate dinners with government bigwigs where policy quietly gets shaped. On the other side, you've got families rationing meals, workers lying awake at night wondering how they'll cover rent, people skipping doctor appointments because they simply cannot afford them. And Trump's constructing a ballroom for 1,000 wealthy guests to sip champagne at exclusive parties, while the folks who put him in office are barely scraping by. Let me share some actual stories about what's going down in the real America while this ballroom project is happening. Out in Ohio, there's a factory guy named Jim who told reporters he's slashed his family's food budget by 30%. They're eating way less meat now. They're grabbing generic brands instead of the stuff they used to buy. His kids don't even ask for snacks anymore because they can see money's tight. And Jim, he voted for Trump. He believed Trump would fight for working class people like him. Now he's watching Trump drop $300 million on a party room. Over in Pennsylvania, there's a single mom juggling two jobs who had to make an impossible choice between keeping the lights on and buying her daughter's asthma medicine. She picked the medicine, obviously, and now she's drowning in overdue utility bills. She's terrified they're going to cut her electricity off. But sure, Trump needs a ballroom that fits 1,000 people. In Michigan, you've got a veteran who did 2 tours in Afghanistan and he can't afford to get dental work done. He needs a root canal badly, but he's got no dental coverage and can't pay cash. So he's just living with constant, grinding pain, popping Advil like candy, praying it doesn't get worse. Meanwhile, Trump's ballroom is getting crystal chandeliers and marble shipped in from overseas. These aren't made-up characters. These are actual human beings. A lot of them are Trump voters, by the way. They took him at his word when he said he'd fight for them. They believed him when he claimed he understood what they were going through. They bought it when he promised to take down the corrupt establishment. So what did they get in return? A president building a palace for billionaires while they're drowning. And here's what really gets under my skin about all this. Trump sold himself as the working person's champion. He was supposed to be fighting for the forgotten folks, the coal miners, the truckers, the factory line workers. That was his entire brand. He was going to stand up for everyday Americans against the powerful elites. But what's he actually doing? He's joining the elites. He's constructing a ballroom for billionaires. He's collecting checks from massive corporations. He's building an exclusive members-only club where only the wealthiest and most connected people get through the door. He's literally transforming into the exact enemy he claimed he was fighting. And his supporters, the people who trusted him, the people who showed up and voted for him, they're not even getting invitations to this thing. A ballroom built for 1,000 guests isn't designed for regular Americans. It's not for rallies. It's not for town halls where Trump connects with his base. It's for fancy state dinners and elite gatherings for the uber wealthy. So what Trump's basically saying to the people who voted for him is, appreciate the support. Now I'm throwing $300 million at a ballroom you're never going to see the inside of. That's the real message here. That's what this entire ballroom situation is actually telling us. You remember those campaign rallies, right? All that stuff about draining the swamp? All those attacks on Hillary for doing paid speeches to Wall Street and collecting checks from wealthy donors? All that talk about how the system screws over everyday working Americans? Yeah, well, turns out Trump's become the swamp himself. He's taking money from the same exact corporations and ultra-wealthy people he claimed he was fighting against. He's constructing these extravagant monuments to luxury while regular folks are struggling to buy eggs. The system's absolutely still rigged. Only difference is now Trump's the guy doing the rigging. And you know what's truly depressing? So many of his supporters are still buying it. They genuinely think he's out there battling for them. They defend everything he does. They say the media is just being mean. They point fingers at Democrats for getting in his way. But they won't admit what's right in front of their faces. Trump exploited them to seize power, and now he's exploiting that power to pad his own wallet and his rich friends' wallets. And here's the part that really drives me crazy. There are major legal questions about whether Trump's even allowed to be doing this. There's this thing called the National Capital Planning Commission that's supposed to approve major construction on federal land. Their whole job is making sure new buildings don't clash with the historic character of Washington. They're there to safeguard what belongs to the public, but Trump basically pretended they don't exist. He tore down the East Wing without getting proper sign-off. His defense? Oh, demolishing stuff doesn't need approval. Only building new stuff does. So yeah, technically he discovered a loophole. Technically, the rules say you can wreck things without permission. But please, that's just Trump manipulating the system, exploiting technicalities to do whatever he wants. And when critics spoke up, when preservation experts said, hang on, you can't just obliterate a historic chunk of the White House, how did Trump respond? He dumped the architect who was urging some caution. He hired someone new who'd go along with his gigantic ego project. He got rid of everybody who might question him. Senator Richard Blumenthal actually put forward legislation called the No Palaces Act specifically to prevent this nonsense. His whole point was, this isn't Trump's personal property. It belongs to the American people. And he's completely correct. The White House isn't Trump's private estate. It belongs to every single American, the ones who came before us and the ones who will come after. But Trump's handling it like it's one of his country clubs. He's renovating it for his own purposes. He's demolishing historic architecture. He's putting up temples to wealth and excess. And he's financing the whole thing with donations from corporations that desperately need favors from his government. The National Capital Planning Commission was supposed to stop this. They have jurisdiction over federal construction in Washington. Their responsibility is reviewing plans, ensuring proper protocol gets followed, protecting buildings with historical significance. But somehow Trump just sailed right around them. How does that even work? Did someone at the commission get pressured into backing down? Did Trump's lawyers discover some obscure loophole? Did the commission just give up because they figured Trump would terminate anyone who stood in his path? We don't actually know the answers because nobody in this White House will be honest with us. They just keep repeating the same lines. Everything's being handled correctly. Everything's totally legal. Move along. Nothing to see here. But something's clearly broken when a president can tear down a historic building without anyone actually checking his work. So let me pose a question to you. Is this what America's supposed to be? Should a president be able to redesign the people's house however he feels like it? Should he be allowed to bulldoze historic structures without real oversight? Should he be permitted to collect massive checks from corporations in return for FaceTime and political favors? Because that's exactly what's going down right now. This is what we're tolerating. And the more Trump gets away with stuff, the more he tests the limits, the more he fires people who won't bend, the more power he accumulates. This ballroom thing is symbolic. It represents everything broken about this administration. It's corruption you can actually see being built. It's extravagance on full display. It's a giant monument to the notion that the president can do absolutely anything without facing consequences, and that should terrify every single one of us. Not just because of the ballroom by itself, but because of what it reveals about Trump's mindset. It reveals his eagerness to twist institutions to serve himself. It reveals how he cannot handle being told no. Think about what this ballroom actually means. It's not merely a room. It's making a statement. It's declaring that wealth and corporate influence deserve a throne room inside the people's house. It's announcing that the presidency exists to serve the rich and connected, not the everyday Americans who put you in office. It's proclaiming that historic preservation and good design principles are irrelevant if they interfere with Trump's grand plans. Every single time a corporation cuts a check for this ballroom, they're purchasing influence. Every single time Trump throws a gala in there, backroom deals will get negotiated that help those companies while hurting regular people. Every single time someone tours that ballroom and sees corporate names carved into the walls, they'll be hit with a reminder that in Trump's version of America, cash buys power. This is the polar opposite of draining the swamp. This is expanding the swamp, making it fancier and making it way more expensive. This is corruption dressed up with crystal chandeliers and imported marble. And if he's comfortable doing this to the White House, what else is on his agenda? What other institutions is he planning to reshape? What other boundaries is he prepared to violate? That's what keeps me awake at night. Because this isn't just about one construction project. This is about setting precedent. This is about what future presidents will assume they can pull off. If Trump can demolish a historic piece of the White House without facing any real consequences, what's stopping the next president from doing something equally outrageous? If Trump can rake in hundreds of millions from corporations hunting for special treatment, what prevents the next president from running the same playbook? We're establishing really dangerous precedents here. We're treating utterly unthinkable behavior like it's normal. We're watching the presidency get corrupted right in front of our eyes while we're too worn out or distracted to fight back. That's what Trump's counting on happening. He figures we're all too beaten down to fight anymore. He figures the headlines will shift and people will stop talking about it. He figures his base will keep defending whatever he does. He figures his critics will just sound like angry partisans nobody listens to. But hold on, this isn't about left versus right. This is about basic ethics and standards. This is about whether presidents should still follow moral guidelines or whether we've decided visible corruption is totally fine now. The ballroom's getting finished no matter what. That's locked in. It'll probably be drop dead beautiful. Fancy state events will happen there. High-end corporate gatherings will fill the calendar. Company executives will chat casually with government leaders. Quiet deals will get negotiated over champagne. Policies will get adjusted to benefit the right people. And every bit of it unfolds in a space that corporations bankrolled so they'd get government perks in return. And everyday Americans, the real owners of that building, the taxpayers who cover its maintenance costs, the voters who trusted Trump to represent them, they won't ever step inside that room. That's the actual Trump legacy being constructed here. That's what this ballroom truly represents, stabbing the people who believed in you right in the back, covering it in expensive stone and lighting, getting corporations to finance it, then building it all on top of destroyed American historical architecture. All right, so that's the ballroom mess in a nutshell. That's why it deserves your attention. That's why ignoring this would be a mistake, because really, this transcends construction drama. This is about America's trajectory. This is about whether we'll just watch while one person reshapes our foundational institutions for personal gain. We're at a crossroads here. One option: accept this as standard operating procedure now. Tell ourselves, well, Trump's gonna Trump, and scroll past it. Point to private funding and technical legalities as justification. Look away while democratic norms crumble around us. Or here's the other path: we could actually expect higher standards. We could demand real consequences for this behavior. We could refuse to treat outrageous conduct like it's unremarkable. We could speak up forcefully enough that it can't be ignored. Presidents don't get to exploit their position to help themselves and their wealthy connections. The White House belongs to citizens, not Fortune 500 companies and billionaires. The construction's already rolling. Can't stop that train now. The funding's secured. The East Wing's already rubble. The building crews are already working. That ship has sailed. But here's what we control: refusing to let this become the standard, pushing for reforms that prevent future presidents from pulling identical stunts, backing bills like the No Palaces Act that Blumenthal introduced, supporting candidates who will actually hold Trump responsible, staying informed, staying active, refusing to turn away. Because here's the reality: if we don't, if we just shrug this off and move forward, then we're part of the problem. We're permitting the corruption to flourish. We're allowing working-class Americans to get betrayed. We're essentially saying it's acceptable for presidents to serve corporate agendas instead of public interests. And I genuinely don't believe that's who we are. I don't believe that's the country we want to build. Appreciate you being here with me today. Appreciate you giving a damn about this stuff. Appreciate you understanding that democracy only works when citizens stay alert and demand accountability from those in power. I'll catch you soon with another episode of The Truth Point. Keep your eyes open. Stay informed. Stay engaged. Look after yourself and your loved ones. Happy holidays, everyone. Take care.